Today's video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. So recently I spoke about some trends that I'd been seeing in my circles that I am loving, but today I thought it'd be a good idea to take a step back outside of my own bubble and look at trying some of the more mainstream trends that are allegedly supposed to be in this season. Now you're gonna have to bear with me because this first one is something I've been talking about for ages, but I feel like it has finally crossed that bridge into popular trend, which I'm actually excited about because for the longest time I thought I was just going crazy. It was actually so hard to find relevant current reference images, but now if you're searching for ponchos, there's actually a high success rate. The true gag of it all though, it's taken me this long to realize it's actually really hard for me to style. Like, I don't know that it necessarily fits in with my own personal style because a lot of the time when you see it, it has that really heavy 70s influence or something very like effortless beach cover up, neither of which are my typical vibe. But I think that's actually good to remember. It's okay to like something and just admire it. Leave it at that. It doesn't mean that you necessarily have to put it on your body immediately. If there's a trend that you truly love, you should be able to find a way to make it work for you and your personal style rather than adjusting your outfit to fit the typical aesthetic that comes with it. So today I was like, okay, let me just try it with a go-to outfit of mine, a blouse and a mini skirt. You really can't go wrong. The one that I'm using is actually a crochet beaded situation, and I tried to bring the purple into the rest of the look with these lilac tights. I couldn't decide on tie or no tie. It felt like too much but then too little, so let me know what you think. Actually, you know how people often say to have a few keywords to describe your personal style? I think that's the perfect mindset to approach trying to style a new trend into your wardrobe and not lose yourself, which is why I'd consider this a success. Although I've never been able to pinpoint the third word, I always come back to cutesy and caricature / cartoonish, and both of those elements I think are still prevalent in this look. I am surprised that this is finally coming into trend now for spring because to me it feels like a more autumnal moment. I mean, thankfully for me the cooler weather is just around the corner. I am so excited to be able to get into some layering. Even just being able to wear a long sleeve today is a win, but it does suck that we don't all get to be on the same page at the same time. Similar to how we don't all have access to the same media despite signing up for the same streaming services, because your country could have a completely different version to mine. But fear not, because that's where today's video sponsor comes in handy, plus so much more, award-winning VPN, Surfshark. Surfshark is a virtual private network available to download now as an app or browser extension. So like I mentioned, with a couple of quick and easy clicks, you can actually unlock content from around the world that isn't usually available in your region. And these days, it doesn't matter whether you're at home or out and about using public Wi-Fi, you really don't know what's lurking in the background. But with Surfshark, your personal data becomes encrypted, anonymous, and secure in their private VPN tunnel, which prevents scammers from accessing sensitive information and companies and bots tracking your every move. And all of this applies to unlimited devices under just one account, so you'll always feel safe. And since Surfshark offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, you can try it all risk-free today and even score yourself a deal if you head on over to surfshark.com/spotlight or use code SPOTLIGHT at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. As always, the links and QR code can be found on screen or more information down below in the description box. The epidemic of boho styling in the 2010s was truly something else. We're definitely starting to see it trickle back in. It was on Pinterest Predict's mood board for 2025. I am filming this pre-weekend one of Coachella, but you're watching this afterwards, so I guess let me know, is it back in full swing? But honestly, even just scrolling before, I saw one of those videos that's like what people are actually wearing in New York, and like 30% of them were already rocking the style, which to me is one of those ones that yes, definitely has peaks in popularity, but there's also a large demographic that is constantly rocking it. So while it might not always be trendy, it definitely always looks stylish in my opinion. On me, however, not so much. I feel like it is definitely synonymous with effortless, and if personal style is a reflection of who you are, we are clearly getting the idea that I am a chronic overthinker, so it's a hard one for me to tackle. Even today, I do feel like I failed the mission, which kind of in its own way is a success because it means that I actually did like the outfit. It feels less rolled out of bed going to a festival and more 2000s British rom-com girly takes her hand out boho styling. And I was actually loosely using that TikTok formula of taking an item that you love but never wear and teaming it with like one of your comfort pieces of clothing. And it totally worked out in this case, so I'm gonna have to try that more often. But I think people sticking more successfully to the theme will be heavily inspired by the last few seasons of Chloe. This is a brand that's had the aesthetic at its core, although I will say that for a little while there, it felt a little bit more old maiden, a little bit stuffy. If you wanna go back to 2003, I feel like that is a runway you could definitely get inspo from. Same with like 2005 era Roberto Cavalli or Isabel Marant. Maybe we could even see a comeback of the Balmain jackets. I want to say from maybe like 2009-ish. And actually vintage designer is kind of an interesting topic at the moment because it almost feels like it has this like fast fashion mindset attached to it. For example, how did everybody end up with a Balenciaga city bag recently? Like despite it being vintage, it's run into the same oversaturation problem to the point where you can hear the time bomb ticking. Now, I love that striped brown jacket that I was just wearing, and I feel like the trend is almost just jackets done up. Like, it's not a layering piece, it's not an outerwear item, you're choosing to wear it as your top for the day. But more specifically, we're seeing a lot that have some sort of button detailing, so your pea coats, anything that's double-breasted, but it's still something that hits at the waist, so not a full-blown coat. Every time I've seen this, which is quite a lot at this point, I still think it eats, so I was very excited. Ended up finding this one on Depop, which is just so perfectly up my alley, but apparently we weren't meant to be because some other diva snatched it from out of my cart. After mourning the loss for a good week, I ended up getting this from the thrift store. Obviously not at all similar, but I thought I could see a vision. Apparently that also wasn't meant to be because after getting it home and styling it for like a whole day, I came up with practically nothing. I think it comes down to the silhouette just not really being for me. It's obviously very boxy and that's kind of accentuated by where the arm sleeve hits as well. Don't get me wrong because I do like a shapeless top, but typically I'd either want it to be longer or if it's going to be this length in a fabric that isn't so stiff. I did try jazzing it up by adding these little Sailor Moon charms down the buttons, which I love this concept and I think that I might try and recreate that in a different look, but this as is, I don't really see myself wearing. Another classic jacket we're seeing a lot of though is denim, but the trend that I actually want to talk about today is what I'm styling it with, and that is the tutu skirt. This is something that's been floating around for a while now, but I think it's going to continue to pick up even more speed because it feels like quite a natural progression from the bubble hem craze we saw the last couple of years. If one of the main things that drew you to that bubble balloon hem was the volume that silhouette created, and you're looking to up the ante even more, then the tutu is going to be your best friend. This is actually just a petticoat that I've had for years to style under dresses and skirts, but every now and then I'm reminded of how fun it is to wear on its own too. And the styling was actually inspired by a vintage store on Xiaohongshu. I really liked the juxtaposition of going for a denim jacket and moto boot rather than leaning into that ultra femme ballet inspo. Like I said, this could not be further from a trend predictions video. It's actually supposed to be things that are like popping off right now and seeing how I can style them. I say that because this is something that I feel like I spoke about a year, maybe even 2 years ago, and that is the rugby jerseys. The one that I have is actually like a really heavy, thick knit, so very much not springtime vibes at all, but I love it. The color combo is just gorgeous. The ones we're seeing more of though are more of like a t-shirt sort of material, which personally I don't see myself investing in, but I do think you can achieve a very similar vibe with things you might already have in your wardrobe. Just taking a collared button-up shirt and then layering a striped long sleeve, which if you are a 2018 K-pop stan, I'm sure you have one of these lying around. I feel like this is a really hard one for me to judge because I think I could like it if it was in a different colorway, but the bumblebee of it all is really hard for me to look past. But the outfit formula itself, I think could work for me. A lot of things at the moment feel like they have DIY potential, not even in like a crafty girl way, but just literally don't buy that. Do it with your own wardrobe. This became very clear to me when I was doing my routine scroll on Musinsa to save things to my wish list and then never look at them again. And on reflection, realized that a bunch of the items were just people wearing 2 shirts at one time. So no, I'm not gonna let you get me with that. I can definitely recreate it on my own with long sleeves, t-shirts, tank tops, any sort of basics that you have. It might take a little bit of scrunching here and there to ensure you're actually seeing the bottom layer, but it's definitely easily done. And I feel like this can tie in really well if you're looking to achieve that almost color blocking aesthetic that we've been seeing a lot recently thanks to everyone styling these different color combos. And if we want to talk about key colors in particular, obviously I have to mention butter yellow. I'm already starting to hear whisperings of, oh, I'm so sick of it. No. keep that to yourself, please, because us light spring girlies will continue to rock this shade. But yeah, a lot of pale yellow, also a lot of different shades of blue. Here, I tried to team it with this kind of like slate gray blue. I also worked in the brown accessories and really tried to stick to this color blocking concept, but I realized it's extremely difficult for me not to wear at least one print or pattern. So I did end up throwing on a leopard hat. And I don't know if it's just because people are excited for the springtime, but I feel like we're seeing less and less black included in outfits and people gravitating towards either brown or gray as their neutral option. I'm definitely someone who's guilty of always going back to black accessories. It's just so easy, but I do try and challenge myself here and there to switch it up. And this pink and yellow combo was exactly a result of that. I feel like this is a great challenge if you are looking to add a bit more of a whimsical vibe to your look. For me, this is very reminiscent of something I would style Molly Gunn in, which is just forever a main reference point for me. And I think what really does it is the sequin bag, which is actually another big trend for this season. Not so much in this little clutch style, although you can't tell me it isn't adorable, but what we're seeing more is like an oversized carries everything bag. I think this is such a fun accessory trend and one that I'd love to try out, but not to the point where I'm going to go and purchase something new. So if I happen to come across one at the op shop, I will be delighted, but if not, it wasn't meant to be. Another really playful accessory are these winner ribbon badges. This is one that actually probably needs a little bit more time to marinate, but I do have my eye on. Obviously, we've been seeing a lot of your general badges and pins over the last few seasons, but this is a more girly sort of touch to it, very 80s inspired. To be honest, I don't know how often I'd reach for it. It doesn't feel like a must-have. Like, I'd probably wear the outfit with or without regardless, but I could see it being a really cute addition to one of my bags. I always feel so silly talking about these sort of ones because they're in the same family as like a floral, stripe, leopard, plaid. They're just always going to exist in my wardrobe, which is great because it means it's not in fear of the dreaded micro trend realm. Rather, it just seamlessly blends into my outfits as they continuously evolve. If you are hearing people talk about this just being a micro trend, then that's fine. It probably just doesn't align with their personal style, or they have just seen one too many influencers style this exact same skirt. But you got to admit, it is a cute skirt. My skirt's just a basic mini. I thrifted it a few years ago and honestly can style it with practically anything. But today I thought it'd be fun to do a bit of a clash with this striped sweater vest. Now, I know that I should have been prepared for this day because it's been years of people coming on here, myself included, talking about the 2010s are coming back, indie sleaze revival, twee, whatever it may be. But for some reason, I saw someone tie a shirt around their waist and instantly felt like the oldest person alive. Like, I get it, it's kind of the natural progression. We had skirt over pants, I've been wearing the aprons, people doing the scarves tied around the waist. Like, unobjectively, I think it can actually be cute, but for some reason, for me, there's a mental block, and I do believe the reason is Tumblr. But I think some other waist-related accessories, I guess, that we'll be seeing are the fur belts, very 2000s J fashion coded. And then I'm also seeing a lot of like skinny belt bags, typically paired with a longer length top. And I had something just like this, so I thought I'd be able to style it for you today, but I cannot for the life of me find it. So I think it must have ended up at the op shop after my last closet clean out, unfortunately. Tracking back to another one of those concepts that was featured on the Pinterest predicts for this year was castle core. Obviously a lot of medieval sort of themed dressing happening. At the forefront of this, we have items made out of chainmail, gloves, bags, headpieces, you name it, it's probably on Etsy. I already had my suspicions that this probably wasn't going to be for me, so I didn't want to commit fully. Instead, I got a daintier sort of chain headpiece, which in hindsight kind of gives a bit 1920s as well. In my head while I was styling this, I'm like, okay, Ren Fair, but make it chic. And honestly, I don't know what we're looking at. It's one of those things where it's kind of hard to judge on yourself because it feels so unnatural to you that you're kind of uncomfortable, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it would look bad from an outside perspective. But again, I don't know. Like I said, this is dubbed castle core, so I feel like there's probably other avenues that I could try and explore that might fit my style a little bit better, almost bringing in more of that princessy element rather than the knight. For example, kind of bleeding into that is the Rococo revival, which I'm not exactly sure on the timeline and dates, but I feel like the 1700s, 1800s with Rococo, Renaissance, Elizabethan. One of the main ways we're seeing this is with bloomers, and I know bloomers have been in trend for years now, but I'm not talking about the micro short adaptation, but rather something a little bit more vintage inspired with a longer length. I really adore this. I think it is such a sweet style, and I think surprisingly more wearable than you might think, especially if you're someone who's loved your flowy white maxi skirt. this is a great way just to switch it up. I know it's hard to believe now because you can get the short bloomers at literally every fast fashion retailer imaginable, but when I was first getting into them, I could not find them anywhere here in Australia, so I ended up getting a pair from Devil Inspired, which is like a Taobao third-party seller. I thought I ordered the shorter pair, but they ended up coming at this knee length, but instead of sending them back, I just took them up without cutting off any of the excess fabric, which I am so glad I did because now I was able just to let them down and style them like this. Today I kept the outfit super simple, but I think there's a lot of possibilities here. I could actually see these becoming a staple for me. Another more concept trend is fisherman, and I'm going to tell you straight up, this one isn't going to be for me. Like, I'm not rocking the boat shoes. It just does not match my style. What I can and have gotten on board with is its somewhat campier cousin, sailor. You know what I mean? It just feels a little bit more lighthearted and playful. You already know I've been wearing my sailor collars, but I finally got my hands on this little sailor hat as well, and I am obsessed. If we rewind to the beginning of this video when I spoke about those key themes that really define my personal style, I feel like we've ticked them off once again with cutesy and caricature slash cartoonish, but I think we could definitely see the sailor hat take off in a less cutesy way as well. And I don't know if it's just the delusion of being a hat girly my whole life, but I'm kind of convinced that 2025 is the year more and more people get on board with headwear. I think the two we're going to be seeing the most are Baker Boy caps. Mine is the exact same one that I had since 2015, and any form of bonnet, aka some sort of headpiece that ties under the chin. I feel like we did okay with the trends today. There's definitely some in there that just aren't for me, but let me know what you think. What are you loving? What are you not? And don't forget to check out today's video sponsor, Surfshark. You can head to surfshark.com/spotlight or enter code SPOTLIGHT at checkout for 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. Thanks again for watching, and hopefully I see you guys again really, really soon. Bye!